Hello, Patreons. Avery here. Welcome to another video. We have been receiving some requests seeking assistance on how to properly fill out the W-4 now that you are participating and doing a process that you are learning here within the course to become tax exempt, whether you are an employee, you're self-employed, and you've given your contractor a W-9 or you've given your employer a W-4. So we already know how to fill out the W-9, which is pretty much self-explanatory, except for one thing. That form allows you to use any entity that you want. So you can use your estate, you can use your trust enterprise, you can use an LLC, a corporation, whatever you want, just as long as those entities have been reclassified and will be considered a disregarded entity under the Foreign Express Trust. So the only way to accomplish that would be to file your IRS form 8832, submit that, and hopefully you've received a return from the IRS saying that it has been successful. I know nowadays they're stalling and there's a major delay on the response times with these things, but be sure to resend these documents every 60 days so that way you stay on top of it and it is always on the front desk within their departments. So that's for the W-9. For the employee-employer relationship, inside of the course, you have seen that we've gone over the withholding certificate. Inside of the guide steps, you have a template that I provided you. I would say change it up a bit. That way everyone is not using the very same things. And it's very easy to change it up once you understand what that law is talking about. You can just reword it a little bit. Some of you may have some software that can spin the words around in your Word document to kind of change it up a bit. Because remember, when they see these things, they are learning and they're trying to figure out if there is just one source supplying them with this information. And if it is, then they can easily hack it and get around what we're trying to do, which causes even more delay. So you guys be persistent, read everything, and try to make it as if it's coming directly from your unique personal trust office. Okay. So inside of that guide steps, you will find that template on how to word that. And you would attach it to your W-4 and give it to your employer and make sure that they do not remove it. They are to file both and give you a copy of both. And that is what they're supposed to supply the IRS on your behalf. It would substantiate when you go down to line 4C on the W-4 to not have to have with any withholdings coming out of your paychecks, out of your earnings, because as we discovered, that is the highest form of slavery. You've given up your hours and they're taking money directly off of the top to where you haven't given the IRS any services. You've never been provided with a promissory note, whether they've given you something in valuable consideration to where you have promised to make payments back to them. That never happened. And so I've placed a video dealing with the tax injunction or the tax restraining order. And in that video, we've gone into detail as to the whereabouts and getting down to the roots of everything, how treaties and the articles of associations and the articles of confederation backs up what we're saying. This isn't a figment of imagination. United States citizens should not be paying taxes, nor does any of the money that we've been told it goes towards, does it go towards those things? It does not. It goes directly to the 12 tribes. Those 12 tribes are referenced by the Federal Reserve systems, and they have letters to delineate themselves, A, B, G. Sometimes you see them on the dollar bill, and you will also find it on the back of your Social Security card. Now, I do not co-sign with any of the secured party creditor processes. I only co-sign with what is written and what can be used, such as case law, contract law, and commercial law, otherwise known as trust law. That is what we teach here. So we're going to talk about putting together the W-4 and going through the instructions if needed, and how to tie in another IRS form that you should equip your human resource department with. All right. Now let's go and take a look at the W-4. This is how you fill it out. This is the employee's withholding certificate. I'm not going to get into the laws backed by this or the CFR because that is in your guide steps for you to go through. So let's look at the 2023 version. And if we go all the way to the instructions, we want to focus on the exemptions. That is exactly what we want. So here it is. This entire section is for exemptions from withholding. If you never read it and you're watching this, then you will read it right now. It says you may claim exemption from withholding for 2023 if you meet both of the following conditions. You had no federal income tax liability in 2022. And guys, please put in your orders for that tax injunction. Okay, put in your orders so that way we can take your applications. My team and I will put them together and send them out on your behalf. It's going to cover all of the tax years that you have previously filed. Members are getting those monies back. I've received money back. But the most important thing, because that's a bonus, but the most important thing is to never have to pay a future tax, whether that's as an employee or business operator. Okay, now you have the video on how to put that together, but if you need additional help and you want us to do it, we will do it. The ones that we send out, we do not give a copy of that. We are protecting that information because it works. All right, let's continue. So you had no federal income tax liability in 2022, and you expect to have no federal income tax liability in 2023. You had no federal income tax liability in 2022 if, one, your total tax on line 24 on your 2022 Form 1040 or 1040 SR is 0 or less than the sum of lines 24, 28, and 29, or 2, you are not required to file a return because your income was below the filing threshold for your correct filing status. Now, the threshold normally is $600, but if you are under the express trust, and that is on the zero file list, and you have gifted your estate over to the trust via that IRS Form 8832, including all other business EINs, you are also under a filing threshold, and that is the 0% tax liability. If you claim exemption, you will have no income tax withheld from your paycheck, and you may owe taxes and penalties when you file your 2023 tax return. To claim exemption from withholding, certify that you meet both of the conditions above by writing exempt on Form W-4 in the space below, Step 4C. Then complete Steps 1A, 1B, and 5. Do not complete any other steps. You will need to submit a new Form W-4 by February 15th of 2024. So the first thing that you do is go directly down to number 4, 4C, and write the word exempt. And then they want you to go back to the very top and fill in the information. You see how they do things. It is backwards. Now, let's do exactly as they said. You go down to line 4C, and you write in the word exempt. So once you do that, you are to go up to line 1A, 1B, fill out this entire step 1. That would mean everything else would have to be left blank. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Fill in your name, your social security number, your address, and mark off how you are filing single. This is always what you should do. If you're married and you're in this process, you automatically know that how they see it is two sub corporations coming together under the main corporation, which is the United States. You are no longer going to operate that way. So you need to file single, husband, and wife. You need to file single because you will be doing a process where you expunge the marriage license and enter into a marriage covenant trust. This is what the Jews do, the Armenians, the Mennonite Society. There are many different orders that do not operate by a marriage license. Think of the world of John Wick, one of my favorite series and universes. It's all about contract law. Okay. So that's how you do the W-4. Now, always sign your name without the United States. Okay. This is good. This is because of the DRAT acknowledgement rules. It says here, under penalties of perjury, I declare that this certificate to be the best of my knowledge and belief is true, correct, and complete. The problem with this is that having you sign under this sentence, it automatically places you within the United States because it doesn't say without the United States. It's very vague. It's not providing enough information. So the assumption will always be in their favor. So because it doesn't say that, you must say it without the United States. You must say that. Okay. That's the unsworn declaration. It's either going to be without the United States or within the United States and all of its territories, possessions, or commonwealths. So the one that is on that W-4 right now is this. That's exactly what it says. And it's putting you directly under their jurisdiction. But there is a difference. If you say without the United States, now what you're saying is, I declare under the penalties of perjury, under what? The laws of the United States of America. United States of America is not the United States. It is not its territories. It is not its possessions. And it is not the commonwealths. Those are two different things. Remember, the reason why they've codified this, because this is the actual year of the first Constitution, not 1787, not 1789. 1746, when it was known as British America. And then later on, we got down to 1774, and the Articles of Association was enacted. Okay, so that is how you do the W-4. Make sure you sign it this way. Do not let them pressure you and say, we don't know what this is, we can't accept it. Well, look, you've already signed it. You've already signed it, and they cannot make you sign another one because of how you sign your name. You tell them, look, I cannot give you any legal advice, so you may want to seek an attorney. And for you to tell me how to sign my name is that there's a lawsuit in that. That's a federal case. Now, I've never had to say that when I was employed, but if you do, be prepared. The next form that you want to fill out when it comes to your human resource department is the infamous W-8 bin. All right. Now it tells you in the instructions at the top, it says, give this form to the withholding agent or payer. Do not send this to the IRS. Did you hear that? The payer is who you give it to, and it is the payer, your employer, they will send it to the IRS. Why? Because they have what's called ECI, effectively connected income. They are directly tied to the United States and the IRS, so they will give it to the IRS. Now, you will not use this form if you are not an individual, you are a US citizen. Now, we know that you're not, but that other side of you is, it will always be, right? There's two sides to a coin. Heads is the one that everybody deals with on a normal daily basis, that we see, touch, feel, hear. But on the other side, we have that commercial paper person, the US citizen, the juristic person, the ens legis, right? And they're saying if that is who you are, then you have to use Form W-9. Now, we're using this. You could use W-8IMY for a foreign intermediary, especially if there is a lot of pension plans and benefits happening within your job, and that's what you're all about. But if not, you're going to do W-8BIN, and this is how you fill it out. Number one is the name of individual who is the beneficial owner. This is going to be your express trust, okay? This is going to be your express trust that you have registered with the IRS during your phone interview, the telephonic interview when you called. If you have seen the previous video on the tax injunction, you know that I talked about the Treaty of Algeciras and how all of the legislative officers of the United States of America are considered to be plenipotentiary of power. They have been given power by His Majesty, the Great Sultan of the Empire of Morocco, not the state of Morocco, the Empire of Morocco, which governs a wide vast of land masses and several continents. And he's given kings and queens and presidents and princes jurisdiction, plenipotentiary power over those land masses on his behalf. The wealthy always sends others to do a work for them. Always remember that. Just because you can do the work doesn't mean that you should. And that is what he's done, the Great Sultan. So in number two, when they ask the country of citizenship, even though you're here within North America, we're talking about Al-Morocco, the Al-Moroccan Empire of Morocco. That is the country that you are on. That's the real thing that the United States corporation is sitting on top of by plenipotentiary of power. Okay. So your trust, even though you've established it in another country, you called the IRS and said Brazil, Colombia, Switzerland, whatever. All of those countries are under treaties with who? Morocco, by the Treaty of Marrakesh. Okay. So you're going to list your express trust here. And number two, the country is always going to be Morocco. I'll show you how this connects. Number three, permanent resident address. This is going to be the country that you provided your Internal Revenue Service agent when you called and said the trust was established in that country. For this example, we have Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This was the address. Now, number four, we're going to give them the US mailing address, preferably your iPostal 1 address, your UPS box. I do not recommend a post office box. All of that is considered the Internal Revenue jurisdictions. So do a private service. iPostal is a good one, PostalNet, and UPS. Then you're going to provide, in number five, your SSN number. This is in league with the US citizen person. Do not worry about this here because your employer is not going to accept a W-9 if they're handing you a W-4. You can try to have that argument with them all day long. They would just rather say, look, we're going to go with somebody else. Thank you for your time. And you don't have the time to continue to find an employer who's going to take your W-9. It would be nice, but we don't have that time. So we're not going to give them a W-9. We're going to give them the W-8 bin after we've given them the W-4 because it is an update. Give them the social right here. Okay. You can put your name directly after if you like, in parentheses. Now, the foreign tax ID number is going to be the number associated with your foreign express trust. That's the 98 number. So you skip 6B, go down to 7. If you have an employee number already, you can place that there as a reference. And then, of course, your date of birth. Now, part 2, claim of the tax treaty benefits. Okay. Before we get into this, quick recap. Really quick recap. When we talked about the treaties in the previous video, we talked about the Barbary treaties. Remember, the Barbary treaties are the Tunis of Tripoli. There's another, we have Tunis and Tripoli, and then you have all of the Barbary states. Now, before it was called California, Nebraska, Arizona, those were the Barbary states where the Atlantic slave trade was taking place. It was very brutal, very tough in those times. And so this treaty came about to reduce the hardships and the brutal tactics that the barbarians were doing and the pirates were doing. They were abusing their passports. It was very, very, very harsh. And this was before the rediscovery of the 17th, of the land masses in the 17th century. This was before that. So Tunis of Tripoli, you have Tangier, you have Algeciras, you have Algiers, but this one here is connected to the United States of America. So if we go down to Article 8, you're going to see how this treaty protects you, that commercial property, right? The name that is on the Social Security card, the name that is on the birth certificate, the name that all of these courts want to have, the name that all of the banks want to have. That's the vessel of the United States. So it says, if any U.S. citizen, because that is synonymous with that term, any U.S. citizen shall meet with a disaster at sea and put into one of our ports to repair, she shall be at liberty to land and reload her cargo without paying any duty whatever. Okay? No taxes, no impositions, no duties, no franchise fees, no marks of attention. All of that is not supposed to be upon the vessels of the United States. Now, how is it that you're connected to this treaty? Remember, inside of the course, we talk about taking on your title of nobility name. Your title of nobility name is you. And if you've done the process of the name change and received the court order decree where it says Jane Dora Croft, is now known as Jane Marquise of the, let's say, the British Islands. Let's just say that's her title nobility name. Formerly known as Jane Dora Croft, right? A U.S. citizen, but your title nobility name is linked to your true nationality. So if she's from the British Islands, she would be a British national. And that will be exactly what's described inside of the name change decree. So that person is the controller, trustee over this vessel of the United States. And all of the assets derived by the energy produced by this vessel of the United States is held within the Express Trust for the benefit of the Express Trust. Now, everything that happens as far as taxation, as far as financial obligations, because these obligations that we're passing around, these Federal Reserve notes, they are the obligations of the United States anyway. So the system that we have when it comes to debt is about a full cycle, a full circle of them passing on debt to you and you not knowing how to pass it back to them for discharge, right? So meeting with disaster at sea, they're talking in terms like the Bible talks. You have to see physical, you have to, or literal, you have to see metaphorical and all of that. They're talking about your birth certificate and your social security number all in this one sentence. The birth certificate being that certificate of title, and the social security number being the uncertificated of securities that spawns from the birth certificate. You read about that in Article 8 of the Uniform Commercial Code. So now that you know that, you also need to know Articles of Confederation. This is Section 6, and it's talking about how the style of confederacy, which is the United States of America, it deals with treaties. And it says treaties with any king, prince, or state. None of them shall grant any title of nobility, right? Any title of nobility. That means for a U.S. citizen to have the right to be here, they tell you, well, just be a good citizen and pay your taxes. That is title of nobility. They're giving you permission to pay a tax that was already abolished in 1774. So federal taxes violates this section here. It also violates Section 4. So we're doing just a recap, right? Now we go into the Fair Tax Act bill that was presented back in 2021. You want to have a good understanding of sections 101, 102, and 103. How they are trying, or they will, it's in the process. The income taxes will be repealed, payroll taxes will be repealed, estate and gift taxes will be repealed. And they want to institute a national sales tax, right? So if you go down and you look at those sections, which is section 101, 101 is subtitle A of the IRC, Internal Revenue Code, repealing. 102 is the payroll taxes. So this is dealing with all of the payroll taxes that your employer takes out for matching when it comes to the state, when it comes to self-employment taxes, right? All of that stuff has to, not self-employment, what's the other one? It's been so long since I've been employed, I forget what the details on the payroll sheet, but all of those taxes that are involved in payroll taxes. That's repealed. And like I said, estate, gift taxes, FICA taxes, social security taxes, Medicare taxes, all of those things are being repealed and it's on the table here. So you need to let them know that. Okay, so now let's go back to the W-8 bin and you will see this is what we said. I certify that the beneficial owner is a resident of the Empire of Morocco. Okay, the beneficial owner is the trust, not you, the trust. Within the meaning of the income tax treaty between the United States and that country, right? It's between the United States, not the United States of America, the United States. The beneficial owner is claiming the provisions of article and paragraph, and this is what it is. We just went over it. Article 8, paragraph 1. There's only one paragraph in Article 8 of the treaty identified on the line above to claim a 0% rate of withholding on, and here's where you specify the type of income. You will manually type in subtitles A, B, and C of the 1986. No income, self-employment, payroll, Social Security, or Medicare taxes under the FICA. Now we're going to explain the additional conditions in the article and paragraph the beneficial owner meets to be eligible for the rate of withholding. And you will manually type this: the United States and its protections with the Empire of Morocco via the Treaty of Marrakesh, the Act of Algeciras, the Articles of Confederation 1781, and the Morocco Treaty of Peace, Article 8. If any vessel of the United States, which is Jane Dora Croft, shall meet with a disaster at sea and put into one of our ports to remain, she shall be at liberty to land and reload her cargo without paying any duty whatsoever. All right. That is how you fill that section out and connecting the treaties with all of the laws that's connected back to the United States, which connects to the trust, which connects to you, right? Now you're going to sign off. Check off this box there. I certify that I have the capacity to sign for the person identified on line 1. Now, who is going to sign? I leave that question to you. Who is going to sign? That is going to be, it tells you, the beneficial owner. Who is the authorized representative here? That would be your foreign sole trustee. You should have a stamp for them, or if they are, if you and them are eligible to see each other, then go ahead and meet up with them and have them sign off. They will type their name down below and give their title, date it. Now you are to deliver this directly to your HR. Now what's going to happen from there? You may have a discussion and you have to tell them what you are trying to do. Not trying, what you're demanding. What you are demanding. You're going to state that you have the compensation and income that I make here is not effectively connected with the conduct of a trade or business with the United States because of the trust that I'm associated with, which is established outside of the United States with the Empire of Morocco. So therefore, it is eligible for no taxes to be withdrawn from my earnings. And for you to interfere with this would mean a major, major lawsuit. Now, you wouldn't threaten them that way, but you get the picture. Okay. So that is what you are going to send off. This is how you complete the W-4, and this is how you complete the W-8. Go ahead and begin by claiming all of your money. Make sure that your money is deposited into your trust enterprise account. Once your trust enterprise is open, you can now have those monies directed to that account. That account is set up under the tax equity fiscal, it's TEFRA, Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act, right? And under that act means it doesn't matter if you make 10,000 per month or more than that per month. The banks will not report that level of income as far as withdrawal or deposits to the IRS because your entity has been regarded as a tax equitable fiscal responsibility. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. I hope this was clear. I will be putting out more to give you a better understanding of additional methods and procedures. This was for the W-4 and associated with the W-8 bin. All right, thanks guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.